got a minute?
Metro!
Just to save you.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The wait is over, everyone. What is possibly the most anticipated animated sequel, or even just the most anticipated sequel period, has finally come to our universe and opened the portal to a spectacular Spider-Man picture, which even includes Spectacular Spider-Man. This is no exaggeration when I say that the first film, Into the Spider-Verse, was a revolutionary game changer. No mainstream animated feature at the time pushed the boundaries of what the medium could do, both in its visuals and storytelling, as much as Miles Morales and his journey of becoming the Spider-Man of his universe. Not only did it immediately receive praise as one of the greatest animated achievements in recent years, along with being one of the best superhero films ever, but it opened the doors to a new chapter in the medium's history. On top of helping the company behind it, Sony Pictures Animation, to going from a low-tier studio who never released an actual good film since Surf's Up, to one of the most creatively admired teams with an impressive quality standard, but its influence has so far left a positive impact across the industry. When other studios get inspired and want to try their hands on a similar stylistic approach, the results turned out to be very beneficial and even assisted them to improve their craft. And as it is the studio's greatest success, there's no question that Miles would return to the big screen. Except now comes with the promise that they will be taking this to the next level and exceed what they've done before with more action, more universes, and of course, more Spider-Mans. So now that the Spideys slither wildly as they slip away across the Spider-Verse, can Miles pull off those same moves to make the greatest Spider-Man movie again? Or is he not ready to face a challenge as daunting as a sequel? Let's find out. The story. Considering that the film made a large quantity of promises of what will be featured, like so many universes, so many Spider-Mans, so much action, and so much drama, it's hard to imagine that the movie could find a way to not only fit all that into one motion picture, but by doing so in an organized fashion where everything is all connected in a way that makes sense. Not to mention maintaining that intimidatingly high standard of the first. Oh, it found a way alright, and it's one of its most impressive traits. Even with so much on its plate, the writing maintained the right balance of storytelling, character development, superhero-style action, and commentary. First, the storytelling maintains the world building, presenting how the multiverse of this franchise works and what happens when its law and order get warped. It even provides examples of disturbing that balance, like introducing a villain who can jump across universes and expand upon the effects of what happened in the first film. This also brings up a great point of how this works well as a continuation, taking moments from its predecessor that can be a bit of an afterthought, but now giving them a much bigger role to show how their consequences have stronger implications than what was previously thought. This is especially the case with the spider that bit Miles. You may think it's just part of the usual Spider-Man origin story, but the sequel established that this one in particular is actually a big mistake.
Can't stop me now!
You can't run forever, kid!
I can't lose one more friend.
At the same time, the plot wants to make sure that its audience cares about the characters, or at least the main spider people, both when they have the mask on and off. As expected, it gives time to show a good amount of web-slinging action and chases to deliver what viewers want to primarily see in a superhero film. But it also wants to highlight how these characters can be outside of those times, and how life as a spider person can be both a blessing and a curse. This is why the movie maintains a powerful emotional core where it sprinkles in a decent amount of humor to lighten up the mood, and gives some little winks to Spider-Man fans with some fun references.
All stations, drop what you're doing and stop Spider-Man.
But at the same time, when it dives into the family dynamic between Miles and his parents or Gwen and her father, the feature really wants you to feel and highlight how their spider powers can also give them heartbreaking problems, especially if it may put their relationship with their loved ones on the line.
And what I worry about most
I love you, Miles.
is they won't look out for you like us.
You gotta promise, Miles.
I promise.
But then there's also the film's commentary, and this is possibly where the Spider-Man aspect plays the biggest role. While it only shows up later in the second half of the picture, and its delivery honestly lacks a bit of subtlety, it provides an interesting message that challenges gatekeeping and traditions. How it questions if popular stories should follow the same patterns, and if being a specific superhero also means going through the same kind of suffering. Yes, everyone knows how with great power comes great responsibility. But does that also mean that you have to be bitten by the spider in a specific moment? Or that a loved one like Uncle Ben must be sacrificed to highlight what it means to be a hero?
I can do both! Spider-Man, always!
Not always.
What about Uncle Ben?
If not for Uncle Ben, most of us wouldn't be here.
However, much like any spider person, there are a few instances where the story can have a bit of slip-ups while swinging. While the writing is indisputably admirable, there are times when the narrative can sound familiar to other Spider-Man movies, especially when sharing the same themes like No Way Home with Miles messing with the laws of the multiverse, and the first film where he has to prove to the other Spider-Mans that he is also a Spider-Man of equal value. I'm not accusing it of plagiarism, of course, but there can be times when the plotlines can sound like we've been there before. Also, it is worth noting that Across the Spider-Verse broke the record of being the longest Western animated film to date with a running time of 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'll say now that the flow is very good, and this may not be the case with everyone, but I'll admit that the time eventually got to me a little in a different way. The movie is so extravagant and delivers so much where it puts you in an action-packed and emotional roller coaster. But just when you think you've seen the film's finale, there's still a good chunk left to reveal more of what is going on with the characters and a crazy plot twist, making it even more astounding, but almost to a fault. Even with its massive running time, the film gives little room for the viewer to breathe and let the major moments to mentally sink in. I won't deny that I was mind-blown by the whole picture, but because of how it relentlessly throws at you all these twists and turns, I almost felt burned out by the experience. But again, this is not the case for everyone, and I'm only speaking for me. Feel free to disagree with me on that, but I just wanted to share what I personally went through. Outside of that, as much as it may have more materials than what most animated films could carry, this movie handled it like a champ, and may even change your definition of Spider-Man. The animation. Here's what people are possibly the most excited to see with the return of Spider-Verse: the comeback of its innovative animation. I'll confess that when I first saw the original, while I did think the visuals are great, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. It was so different than anything else at the time and features so many things that are new and kinda trippy. It was hard to let that all sink in and process what the animators were trying to do with all that, with how it connects to both the story and the Spider-Man theme. Of course, this is not the fault of anyone at Sony. I was honestly just overwhelmed during my first viewing. However, since then, I did take the time to understand it all and gotten used to this new style. And now I can say that the first was only a small taste of what the second one offers, taking the elements of what people praised in the predecessor and multiply that to show the wider possibilities of the overall style's capabilities. I will say though that the movie does start out bombastic with it, like run, 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 run. But after that, it's all smooth sailing from there. It is also worth noting that another record the movie broke was having the most artists and animators work in one feature, with a crew of over 1,000 bringing the multiple universes to life, and each contribution from the different teams really shows. On top of the main look from the predecessor of a living comic book with panels and words following the characters, in each universe, the styles boldly differentiate from one another, and they are meant to either pay homage to the comics that the particular Spider-Man comes from, or reflect the main character of that world. From the bright watercolor-like impressionism of Gwen Stacy's Earth, to the flashy Indian culture of Mumbattan, to the neo-futurism of the Spider-Man headquarters.
Make sure he never forgets where he came from.
And Not only that, but with the hundreds of characters present, each one stands out with their unique style, giving them their own look and their own function of movement, really highlighting that they are from a completely different world from the rest. And when all combined, the magic of Spider-Verse is seeing all these different spider people with a style that pays respect to their source material, working together and doing what they do best to create unique moments and deliver a true sense of seeing different worlds colliding. In a way, Across the Spider-Verse is the Roger Rabbit of Spider-Man, a tribute to the hero's entire legacy presented as one big epic adventure.
Who do you think you are? Really?
But those are the obvious parts that make the animation amazing. That's why it must be mentioned that the cinematography and the action are also key features in making the visuals beautiful. When there are moments when the Spideys have to stop the Spot or Miles is on a chase, that's when they become highly intense and bring the viewer along for the ride to feel like you're swinging around alongside them, adding on to the sense of danger and engagement. Not to mention how it makes it the perfect opportunity for some of the characters to show off their abilities and how their styles bounce off each other. One memorable example is at the beginning where Gwen, Jessica, and Miguel fight against a Renaissance version of the Vulture.
Will you get out of here? No!
Clear the building!
But as much as the action can be exhilarating, some of the downtime can also have their visual instances too, letting the atmosphere having its moment in the spotlight and let the characters and the audience to soak in the current universe they're watching, while seeing how grand the place is to let the style shine through on more than just the Spider-Person. Just when you think Into the Spider-Verse is the best that mainstream animation can do, Across the Spider-Verse takes it to a whole new level and proves that its innovation was just the beginning. The characters. With 240 characters created for the picture, there's gotta be at least a few that will stand out. While this may not be the case with all the Spider People, those who take on an important role in the story are responsible for carrying the emotional core, as they highlight the social and mental consequences of holding the mantle. Not to mention having their respective voice actors going strong on the emotions to make their characters feel genuine and easy to connect with. Starting our list of Spider People, there's the center Spidey of this universe, Miles Morales. It is worth noting that thanks to the help of the first film, Miles has become a pop culture icon for people of color, and broke the boundaries amongst the general public that you don't have to be a white boy like Peter Parker to be called Spider-Man. However, at the same time, Miles also became a target for white nationalist influencers, where he is often used as a dog whistle to promote racism and hate speech. And this hypocrisy needs to be called out, because I'm tired of seeing culture war grifters pretending that they like this movie for the purpose of virtue signaling. One of the biggest reasons why Into the Spider-Verse is so beloved is because of how it is one of the most progressive pictures in recent years, with a prominent theme of diversity and its core message of how anyone can wear the mask, regardless of race, age, gender, sexual orientation, and more. Not to mention having a person of color taking the leading role to become one of the most famous superheroes instead of whom the general public is used to seeing as the web slinger. In many ways, this movie goes against so many ultra-conservative values, debatably more so than any Disney film out there, yet people with those extremist ideologies strategically hide their true feelings about the feature, even if they already expose their hatred for Miles. How can you go from rallying a hate campaign on the Little Mermaid remake because they cast a black person as the titular character, to giving love to another movie that's doing the exact same thing, then go back to going on racist rants, but now towards the same character featured in the movie that you claim to love? Like I said, this is just strategy in their pointless culture wars, because even they know that if they let out their real feelings and call Spider-Verse woke, then it would be a critical detriment to their bigoted movement. Seriously, if the movies had the Disney label, you know that they wouldn't hesitate to let out their torches and make dozens of conspiracy videos of how Disney is replacing white people and forcing diversity onto the public. My point is that it is impossible for anyone to claim that they hate woke culture and also say that they like the Spider-Verse movies, because real Spider-Verse fans are those who have the movie's morals as part of their core values, such as protecting trans rights and say that Black Lives Matter. It's either you like the Spider-Verse movies and you support the progressive ideologies, or you're against woke culture and you actually hate Spider-Verse for racist reasons. And if you're trying to say that you're both, then that only means that you're a worthless clout chaser who can never form their own opinions, just blindly following what the crowd says so that you can feel accepted by your peers. But while those people are just the kind of criminals that Spider-Man usually stops, Miles is a more mature teen who wants to spread his wings out and be more independent. While this may be difficult for Rio and Jeff, Lieutenant and Mrs. Morales, almost forgot about that, to watch their kid be more grown, it presents the struggle of maintaining a secret identity and how one of the biggest challenges of being Spider-Man is living a double life, especially at his age while he is still studying in school. Of course, both interfere with each other a lot, but that family love is still present and their actions, no matter how harsh they are for what's best for one another. As for his role as Spider-Man, a lot of his actions are based on his crush on Gwen, taking that chance to feel less alone, but leads him into more trouble when he finds out what the Spider Society thinks of him.
You have a choice between saving one person and saving every world.
Speaking of the girl, Gwen is the other main Spider-Person of the film. Similar to Miles, she's having problems with balancing her life as a hero and being the daughter of the chief of police, on top of feeling lonely due to her feelings for Miles. At her new job as an apprentice in the Spider Society, she has to make the tough choice of doing what's right for all the universes, or be happy with her friend and risk being sent back to her own world to be abandoned. As for the other Spideys, they're very much like Noir, Penny, and Spider-Ham from before. They're undeniably enjoyable characters who provide great personalities, like Pavitr as the fun-loving Indian Spider-Man, Hobie is an anti-fascist anarchist who is always against hierarchy systems, Jessica Drew is Gwen's new mentor, and Peter Burrito Parker returns as the caring father who looks out for those he loves. They're all very likable, but their catch is that their roles boil down to just being a spider ally, either helping out Miles or Miguel.
Peter,
Miles! Mayday!
you have a baby!
I have a baby. I'll take it from here.
The only Spider-Man I will say I didn't like was Scarlet Spider. He wasn't in it much, but his moments were annoying. Then again, that should be expected from a Sony character voiced by Andy Samberg. But then there's the leader of the Spider Society, Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099. He knows firsthand the consequences of messing with the timelines, and makes sure that there is order in the balance of the universes. That's why he doesn't take a liking to Miles, as he wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man in the first place. While some could argue he is the antagonist of all the Spider People with his more aggressive and short-tempered approach, he's just trying to look out for all the universes and wants to make sure that the rules are followed so that the Spider People can do their roles to save people.
You can't run forever, kid!
I can't lose one more friend.
You knew?
I have no idea what you're doing!
However, I wouldn't say Miguel is the villain here. That title belongs to this guy. Remember the scientist who got hit by a bagel in the first? This is him now, and he is called the Spot. At first, he's the typical insecure bad guy who wants to be Miles' nemesis so badly. However, once he starts getting his groove, his intimidation greatly increases and eventually becomes quite a threat. He may not seem like much now, but from what's been set up here, I get the feeling that he'll be quite unforgettable the next time.
I am the Spot. It's not funny.
Don't do that.
I know that there are several other characters featured, but that would get into some spoiler territories, so at least the ones mentioned here can give you a good idea of how the movie's tone is set. And I can guarantee that these Spider People can pack quite a punch both physically and emotionally. After watching this movie, there is a personal debate that, to this day, I'm honestly having with myself. As you could tell from this review, I had a wonderful time with this film. But after experiencing all that, I still wonder, which movie is better? Into the Spider-Verse or this film? Or maybe they're both equally good. Either way, one thing I do know is that I love this film. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is one of the greatest animated sequels where it takes what makes the original highly praised and elevates it into one of the biggest love letters to Spider-Man. Every aspect in this feature was amazingly crafted in order to deliver the biggest adventure that any Spider-Man experienced yet. With great writing that comes with a highly engaging story, a powerful emotional core, and well-crafted characters who portray the life and struggles of being Spider-Man, breathtaking animation that expands the previous innovations, and intense action that takes you on an unforgettable ride. While I'm hesitant to say that this is among the best animated features I've seen, this is easily one of the best superhero films ever created. I think it goes without saying that if you like the first movie, then you're obviously gonna love this. However, I must warn you that nothing will prepare you for what you will witness. Even with those 140 minutes, you may need additional time afterwards to process some of the shocking moments that you will see. But before you take that time, why not give this review a like and subscribe to my channel? I got a multiverse worth of content that could give you a great time like this. Yeah, there's no asking, I'm definitely giving this the AniMAt seal of approval. And you know what's the craziest part of all this? This is not over! We still have one more movie that'll take us on another multiverse adventure. So join me when that film comes, and let's all do this one last time.
And then I looked at my uncle and...
let me guess. He died?